Hello, hello, hello. What is going on today, guys? How's everybody doing? What is going on today, guys? How's everybody doing? Welcome in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking it out. Middle of day, midday check in, people. Midday check in. So, we're going to get started. Hey, guys, what's going on? I know you guys can see it. What we have right here in terms of the topic that we're going to talk about today. I want to say again, thank you for being here, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate everyone taking the time to stop in, be a part of the conversation. Welcome in. It's always good to have you here, guys. It's Oloropo here. As you know, we come in here, we talk about getting work done. We talk about being motivated. We talk about the requirement for us to be consistent and proactive in our behaviors in order to ensure that we are achieving at a level that is that we can maintain, we can grow. It's all about that discipline. You guys have always known you can get the 2DS right from the page. You can follow the link to put in the information and have the 2DS, which is the discipline dividend system sent directly to you. The great thing about having that dividend discipline available to you is you can follow the steps on how to be disciplined, on the ways to be disciplined, the behaviors of discipline, and make sure that you are prepared in every way that you need to be in order to achieve the goals that you seek to achieve, to make sure that you are accomplishing the task that you have set out in front of you, that you're following the steps, you're following the discipline, and you're making the growth in all the areas that you wish to see growth in. This is important, right? This is important because this goes far beyond just being somewhere, right? This is going to go far beyond just starting to do something. And what we're talking about right now, what we're going to have a real discussion about today, guys, and this is important. Again, thank you for being here. Remember, as you come in, always take an opportunity to go ahead and drop in there what where you're checking in from and what time of day it is where you are. But what we're going to talk about today is an important topic, guys, and it is the relationship that we have with money, right? The title is simply says the psychology of money, right? And so it's understanding this relationship that we have with finances and how it impacts our growth and development. Again, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to stop in. As I said before, if you want to drop into the chat where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, I really appreciate that. As you know, every time we come here to B&D Finance Fixers, the focus is always going to be on discipline. Now, the things that we're going to talk about today is the relationship that we have with our finances. And I have some notes here for some things that I want to share with you that are really important because I don't want this to just be a random discussion. I want to make sure I'm offering value to you. And what I'm going to cover is the difference between luck and risk. That's important because we have a misunderstanding in that space. We're going to need to understand the investment part of it as far as whether or not we are spending money or investing money. And then we also want to make sure that we understand how emotional we can be in spending, both a response from happiness, anxiety, from anger, from frustration, how we can be very emotional in the way we act when it's money. Steve R., is it better to save or pay off debt fast in your opinion? In my opinion, saving is for the purpose of spending, right? So there's three things that I would say you need to compare there. It's not just saving, it's not just paying off debt. There's saving, paying off debt, and investing. I believe the most important thing to do is invest. The reason you want to invest, investing is going to make your money grow. It's going to allow your money to work for you. If you have debt that you need to pay off, Do not stop investing in order to pay off debt. That's what a lot of people do, is they say, okay, I want to take this money that I've been investing and I'm going to transfer that over. I'm going to start to pay off debt, and then I'm going to try to start saving money. Investing is going to be more powerful than saving. Here's why. Even when you save, even if you put money in a savings account that's going to collect interest over a period of time, if you're moving money over into a savings account that's going to collect interest over a period of time, you're going to eventually take that money out to spend it. I am of the new opinion that leverage is better than credit. So if you have debt, that debt, you can always leverage money that you have in investments in order to be able to make purchases that will be investments themselves, and then that will lead to those purchases that you make being able to be leveraged later on. That's another discussion that we'll also have, because it's really important to know where you are in terms of what you're trying to achieve. So Stephen, I don't know if you're still there, but I'm going to say the biggest thing to do is invest. After investing, then save, and then ultimately you can get to the point of paying off debt. Here's why: the debt is there, right? It's unfortunate, but the reality of it is, paying off debt is for the purpose of increasing your credit score, right? We do some real thinking about it. If we take the time to really think about it, and Stephen, let me know if you're still there, because I don't want to delve too far into it if it's not something that you're still there and you don't really want to hear much about. But the reason that it's important to understand this is because the reason we pay off debt is to increase our credit score, right? And the whole reason to increase our credit score is to be able to borrow more money, right? And so the other part about it is, over time, that debt weighs less in paying off debt, because over time, that debt is going to impact your credit score less and less, right? The ultimate thing we're trying to do is to be able to say, hey, when I pay off this debt, it's for the purposes of raising my credit score so I can borrow more money to spend, and it costs me less to use that money. By investing money, you can borrow from yourself, or you can leverage. Meaning, if you do investments into stock portfolios with investing arms, and again, this is going to talk about the relationship that we have with money, what you're going to be able to do in that space is you're going to be able to say, hey, you're holding money that I have invested with you. I want to leverage 70% of it, right? So you're holding $100,000 for me. I'm going to leverage $70,000, and I'm going to take this $70,000 and I'm going to start a business that's going to be renting cars, or a business that's going to be renovating properties, whatever the case is. And then you take that $70,000, you go out, you purchase your first property. So you buy a $100,000 property for $70,000. Then you turn around and you go to the bank and you say, hey, I have this plan. It's an ARV, blah, 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 blah. I have a $100,000 property. I want to borrow 80% of that. And then it's appraised at $100,000. They say, okay, here's $80,000. You pay yourself back the $70,000. Use the $10,000 to update the property. Now the property has a value of $125,000. So even after all of that, now your business owns an asset. You own the business. You have your money back, and only the business is carrying this debt. Now, here's what's important. A lot of people don't know this, and I've been saying this very recently in a lot of my lives that I've been doing. LLCs, the original LLC in the United States was a copy of something that was already being done in Germany. And for the most part, people used LLCs to reduce the taxes of being able to do business, not wanting to become a corporation. So people who were sole proprietors or partnerships, and they wanted to move into a space where they could make more money and reduce their taxes by getting the money to pass through to them. They didn't want to step up into the corporate tax rate. They needed an in between. The LLC, original ones, created in 1977, I believe, in Wyoming, and the purposes of that was for an oil company. There was a couple of partners who came together, and they simply, like they said, they wanted to be able to have the protection of an LLC, or the protection of a corporation, to say we're operating as a business, not as individuals. But we want to be able to be taxed at a lower rate so that we can earn money with this business and be able to take that money out. Here's why this is important. The LLC as a creation as a way to reduce liability is nominal, right? Because I was speaking with my sister. My sister has been buying and holding houses for years and years and years. They have something that's called pierce the veil of a LLC. If your LLC does something negligent and a lawyer really wants to get to you and your money because you're hiding your money through it, a lawyer is going to do a good job of that. A good lawyer is going to get through. So, long answer short, invest first. Paying off debt matters, but paying off debt is about increasing your credit score. The biggest thing that you need to do if you want to make sure that you can live the life you want to live below your means. Make sure you have a budget and your budget understands this is how much money I bring in, this is how much money I want to live off of, so that this amount of money can be paid into my future. Because what happens is if you live below your means, right? So I'm going to kind of give you this example. If this is how much money you make and you live below your means and you're paying this much money into your future, exponentially it's going to start to do this, right? And so as a percentage of your means, your money is going to grow, which means living below your means still as a percentage is going to grow. If you don't establish that, no matter how much money you're making, if you don't establish that, and we're going to discuss that and what we're going to talk about here, if you don't establish the understanding and the wherewithal and the ability to be disciplined, to budget and live below your means, your income level doesn't matter. Right? So doesn't matter the income level, the more money you make, and this is why credit score is so important to Americans, right? And so many people who live in the middle class of America who are like, hey, I have a credit score of 800. I can go borrow money and get anything I want, buy anything I want, right? You can, but your business would be way more powerful. So if you're taking your money and investing it, and then you're living your life like a business, and the purpose of doing this is because if you go to pass your money on to your children when you pass, if you say, hey, I'm stockpiling money, I'm holding money, and I'm going to pass this on to my children when I pass away, the government is going to, they're going to take their taxes out for you dying. They're going to take the cost out for this. They're going to take this out and that out. The government is going to eat away at this money. They're going to take money from it when the kids get it. They're going to take, like, all of these things are going to happen. However, if you put it into a business, right? And you simply pass the stewardship of that business over to your children, right? So you're avoiding these costs. So if your goal is to pass on things to your children and to your grandchildren and into the future, then the mindset has to be, let me live my life, let me treat my life like a business, so that when I'm done, when I'm done with this life, the things that I leave here, the legacy that I leave here are going to be those things. Debt is attached to you personally. So paying off debt is for the purposes of you being able to acquire more debt, but at friendlier terms. We need to change from doing debt to doing leverage. I know that was a long answer, Steve. I don't know if you were able to stay through all of it, but invest. Debt, I get it. You want to pay it off, but if we're looking long term, and most of what we're doing is long term, which is the whole reason for credit. Credit is to simply say, let me use money over time and charge me while I'm using it. Paying off debt is for the purposes of being able to borrow money on better terms. Let's start investing our money. And then living below our means, when we establish those two things, debt's no longer a concern. It just becomes a matter of leverage, guys. So once again, guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate your patience. If you have the opportunity, please drop into the chat where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, and we're going to go ahead and get started on what we're going to be talking about today. And so the first thing I want to do, I want to talk to you about is about the wealth mindset, right? So wealth is something that we have to understand that it's not a logical thing. Here's why wealth is not a logical thing. Wealth is not logical because it's different for everyone. So I can say, okay, well, this is what is deemed as being wealthy to me, right? So I can have my personal opinion of what wealth is. I can say, this to me is what wealth is. And then someone else can say, well, this to me is what wealth is. So we can all have different opinions about what wealth is. I personally am of the mindset that wealth specifically is the ability to spend time with my family, with the people I want to, when I want to, doing what I want to. I believe that's the definition of wealth for me. The reason I say that is because we understand money, we understand that we need money to pay for things, but money is a concept, right? When we really think about it, because different countries have different values and the valuation against money and different, like the only thing that allows for money to actually work is trust, right? The belief that it's going to be supported, right? I was talking to my brother the other day and I was like, hey, when Bitcoin first came out, did you think it was a scam? Like when cryptocurrency first came out, you think it was a scam? And my brother is 64 now. My brother said, man, I still think it's a scam. So my brother's mindset is it's not real. There's nothing to support it. However, if enough people believe in something, it gains value. That should let us know money's not logical, right? Wealth is not a logical thing. We have to come to that understanding, people. Again, as you come in, if you take an opportunity, let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you are. I would really appreciate it. So income is not, wealth is not a logical thing. Why is it important for us to understand that, right? So I'm gonna run down a few key things for you, right? So the point here is gonna say financial success is more about discipline and patience than intelligence. So what does that mean? In order for you to be able to achieve, as I was just saying before, in order for you to be able to achieve any type of wealth, anything that you consider to be wealth, you're going to have to be disciplined. And here's what discipline is. This is a part of the 2DS. You can, as I said before, you can go to the page. There's a form for you to fill out. We'll send the 2DS out for you absolutely free. It's a way for you to start to follow the system and use it for yourself and your life. And you can apply it to every area. It's not just in wealth, it's in fitness, it's in relationships, it's in faith, it's in all of those different areas. So what does it mean for us? Well, discipline is going to be repetition, knowing that you have to continue to do something over and over. It's going to be followed by patience, knowing that this thing that you're working on is not going to be done tomorrow. It's going to be followed by consistency, which is a plan that can track growth and showing that you're progressing through your repetition and a performance. And then it's going to be finished up with perseverance. And perseverance is simply saying when you get to that point when you feel like you want to do something different, that you have to continue to focus on where you're going. And so these four pillars of discipline will create the foundation upon which you will build success. And success is simply the things that you achieve on your way to mastery. Because as you work towards mastery of something, success is guaranteed. This is why I say I can guarantee you success if you implement discipline. I don't have a problem with saying that. If you are disciplined in your approach, I guarantee you success. Now, ultimately, you have to understand you're not working to be successful. You're working towards mastery. How do I master this? As you work towards mastery of something, whether it's mastery of language, mastery of a concept, mastery of cooking, whatever it is you're working towards, the more you are disciplined and working on it, you're going to see success along that journey. And that is how you guarantee success. So, financial success is more about discipline and patience than intelligence, right? This is why we have smart people. We have people who have gone to school, who have amassed like a great deal of earnings. Like they've made good money for the time that they've been doing what they've been doing. However, in that process, they've also found themselves in debt, or they found themselves mismanaging money, or making bad purchases, or losing in investments. Financial success has all of these components to it. You have to understand that it's behavioral, right? So we have to start to understand that it's going to be more about the behaviors than it's going to be about whether or not we're super intelligent, right? And so now Housel, all of this comes from a book. This book is the Psychology of Money. It was written by Housel. And in the book, he specifically states that smart people can make bad financial decisions as well. And so if we know smart people can make bad financial decisions, we know it's just not about book intelligence for us to be able to get there, right? And so now, once we come to this understanding, it allows us to move on. And there are quite a few points that are covered in this book. I believe it's a great read. I'm just going to go over 3 of them today. The second point that we want to cover is going to be luck versus risk. All right. So, what is luck versus risk? Well, luck versus risk is simply going to say there are going to be situations that have nothing to do, right? Some people don't like the term luck. Some people may say fate. Some people may say circumstances. They were like whatever the case may be. It's going to be luck versus risk, or circumstances versus actions. And what this is saying is some things are going to happen in your life that you have zero control over. You might walk into, let's say you're a fitness professional, and you might walk into a gym one day because, hey, I decided to go work out at this new gym because, I was on a trip, right? So I was traveling. I went down to the gym. While I'm in the gym, there was another guy working out. We struck up a conversation, blah, blah, blah. 30 minutes later, find out this guy is opening a whole chain of gyms in the Midwest, and he wants me to be the senior VP of his sales and personal training team because we met each other in the gym. That's something that happens, right? Now, what a lot of people say is success is when preparation meets opportunity. Now, you do need to be prepared. This is why the first part, which is the discipline part, you have to focus on achieving something and work towards achieving that thing. So that first part is very important. And so I do encourage us to always make sure that we're being disciplined, we're being mindful in what we're doing, we're understanding the process of being able to do it. And then when we learn our thing, when success meets opportunity, when that opportunity arises, you see what I'm saying? And we're prepared for that opportunity. So when we meet that person in the gym and we understand what we're talking about and we know how to make these relationships and we know how to network, then we can go from there to doing something bigger, right? So it does require this preparation in the process. However, you have to be willing to take risk as well. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. And so how many people are willing to have the conversation? So you can go around and you can go from gym to gym to gym as a fitness professional, which I used to be. I used to be a personal trainer. And I say I used to be a personal trainer because I no longer ply it as my trade. I no longer go out and do it as the thing that makes money for me. I no longer so people say, well, if you're a doctor, you're always a doctor. Yeah. When you stop working as a doctor, you're not a doctor anymore. You have doctor knowledge, but you're not necessarily a doctor anymore. So as a personal trainer, one of the things that I made sure that I wanted to do is I wanted to stay abreast of the most current information. I wanted to be prepared. I wanted to be able to speak to both clients and to speak to other professionals in the trade appropriately. How do we do it? We have to work on ourselves, right? So the psychology of money is telling us that we mentally have this relationship with money and how it comes and goes out of our life, and we add these determinations on it for us. But we do it for other people as well. We look at other people's situation and we say, well, we think it's a relationship or how we're treating the individuals, but what it really is, it's our relationship and how we view money. Oh, well, they had better opportunities than me. They had more opportunities to do this than I did, or they had access to these things that I didn't have access to. And some of those things may be true, but really, are you taking the risk? Some people take risks, some people don't. It starts with taking a risk on yourself. You have to take a risk to believe in yourself and do the work to prepare yourself to be prepared when the opportunity presents itself, right, guys? So we can all do that. I believe that we have the ability and the wherewithal and the knowledge and the opportunities to do that, but we have to take advantage of it, guys. If we are out here and all of these opportunities present themselves to us and we're not taking full advantage of it, we're not preparing ourselves to be ready, then we can't fault of others for not achieving or not obtaining that level of success, right? That's going to be on us. So give me a moment, guys. I got some things over here I need to get refreshed. Apologize for this delay. Give me a moment. So this is going to create our relationship with money, right? This psychology that we have of money. But all of this always fall back, and I always remind people of this. Hello, good sir, how are you doing? Harsh. Is that Harsh? Harsh? Did I say that correctly? I always remind people that one of the things that you want to do is you want to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. What does that mean, to work harder on yourself than you do on your job? Well, the simple answer to what that's going to mean is, in order for you to become the person that you want to be, in order for you to be able to say, hey, I've amassed this money and I have the ability to grow this money and I have the ability to build myself, build my team, and graph or design my future to what I want it to be, you're going to have to be able to do that to yourself. And I always tell this to people. I'm like, hey, we want to be leaders. And some of us say, hey, I don't want to be a leader. Like, I don't want to be in that leadership role. I don't want to take on those responsibilities. I don't want to have to fill those particular shoes. But we all have a responsibility to lead ourselves, guys. At a minimum, we have to lead ourselves. We have to be able to look at ourselves and say to us, say to me, hey, I have a job to do. I need to do my job for myself. I need to be doing for me what I should be doing for me. If I'm not doing that work, if I'm not out here and I'm not willing to put in the time to see myself become stronger, to put in the time to work on my own personal development, to see myself start to grow in the spaces that are really, really important for us all to be growing in, for us to all be focused on this work, then I can't look out and say, well, it's somebody else's fault that I don't have what I need, or it's someone else's fault that I'm not ready in the way that I would like to be ready, because I haven't done the work, people, right? Harsh, you're saying, sir, I want to know, what will I do after my graduation? So sure, when do you graduate? When do you graduate? And what would you like to do? I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to share with that. So the psychology of money is really, really important, guys. And now the third thing that I want to share, and this is going to be very important, I think I kind of covered it beginning when I was talking to Steve, is it's going to be about saving versus investing. Saving is greater than investing at first. Now, the point that the reason why saving is better than investing at first is because saving at first simply has to do with your budget, right? Now, some of these things have changed because there used to be a point where you weren't able to buy a fraction of the stock. You had to buy the whole thing. So in order, if you wanted to buy a stock that was at $135 or whatever the cost was, you had to have the whole value. You had to be able to pay for that full share. Now that you can purchase fractional shares of stock, and you can just put the money in there and say, hey, give me as many of this particular stock or as much of a share of the stock as I can get for $35 or for $13, moving that over into that space makes sense. But the reason that Housel specifically stated in this case that saving is greater than investing at first is that early on, when you're saving and you're not sure how you want to invest and use this money in the future, or you're not sure what you want to do with it, saving at first allows for you to gain interest on something on a consistent basis until you decide what you want to do with it. And so if you're just starting out and you're moving, let's say you're moving $50 a week or $50 a pay period over into your savings account. Like, if you're doing that you can do that for a few months, you can do it for a couple of years, and you're like, okay, well, I'm trying to figure things out. I'm working on myself. And then when I figure out what I want to do, the purpose of saving, and I keep saying this, the purpose of saving is to spend. You're not going to get rich by saving. You are saving to find the appropriate place to invest, so that once you say, okay, man, I've got some understanding, I want to start investing. You now have this money while you were going through that development process on yourself, right? While you were working on you now have these funds that you can say, bet, let me grab these funds, let me move them over here, and let me put them into an investment now, and I can move them forward. So Harsh, are you still there, Harsh? It looks like it says, I currently am waiting for my final results. So where are you at, Harsh? Are you in the United States? Or are you in a different country? Are you in Europe? Are you in England? Like, I'm not sure where you're graduating from, but I'd like to hear where you're graduating from. I'd love to be able to assist you with some advice on this. I just need to have a little bit more information. I'm not the type of person that just randomly say, hey, you should go be a doctor. The doctor field is growing. You should go. Like, it's important for you to understand whatever it is you're looking to do, because you're going to always work harder on yourself than you do at your job. That's your requirement. So you're in India. So you have to make sure, if you're in India, you're waiting on your final results. There are a lot of different fields that are open. You have to look at who you are and what you want your future to look like. I don't know the specific job opportunities in India. I do know, once you start looking at what you want to do and what's important to you, right? And so when you start looking at these things, there are a lot of different professions. I'll tell you this. This is what I know to be a fact. Whatever it is you're looking to do, AI is going to be involved. So make sure in the process of you trying to figure out what you want to do, you improve and understand your strength in AI, not as a toy, but as a tool. So many people currently have access to AI and they're using it as a toy. They're using it to, you know, see what them and Angelina Jolie baby would look like. I don't know. Things like that. Make sure you're learning AI. That's the first thing I'm going to recommend. And then the second thing I'm going to recommend is look in the areas where you can grow, right? Now, this is why this is important. Not everybody is going to go out there and start a business. We're not going to all walk out the door and say, hey, I want to start a business. I'm going to run a business. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. For many of us, we're going to walk out into the environment, and what we're going to do is we're going to get a job and work for other people. For whatever it is you want to do, look for a job in that space. I will say the other thing to do is look for a job in, or get some experience in sales. Here's why sales is important. And I ran from sales for a long time, and it stunted my growth in doing so. You want to look for a job in sales because at some point you're going to have to sell somebody something, right? Hardest, you're saying, sir, I also want to know, am I to do a job or start preparing for a government exam? You can do both. I mean, I don't understand why not do both. Like, there's nothing saying, like, is there a law saying you can't do both? If you have the opportunity to do both, do both. But I will tell you this. The reason I'm saying that you need to take an opportunity and start to understand what it is you want to do and how you want to build your life is because, or why you want to be able to get a job in sales and understand sales, is because at some point you have to sell something. The primary thing you're going to sell is going to be yourself. When you go to an interview, you're selling yourself. When you understand the simple concept of sales, sales is about benefits. Benefits equal value, right? You have to understand that features are the elements of something, right? So you can look at yourself and you're like, what are the features that I have? What are the things that I'm good at? Great memory, read well, analytical skill, speak well, strong hands, like whatever it is about you, right? So when you look at, and I like using sports as an example, when you look at the people who are the best at sports, there are certain things. This is why a lot of sports have what's called a combine. They want to take a look at elements of an individual, right? And so large hands can contribute to the ability of a pitcher to make a ball spin in a certain way. So they measure hands. Certain amount of repetitions on bench press have an ability to understand the elasticity and the conditioning of, and the ability of a athlete to be able to compete at a certain level because they have this level of development, right? And so the type of training from being quick twitch muscles or versus slow twitch muscles and how they can grow and what this means about explosiveness, right? You want to do the same thing for you. You want to look at what are my features? Then what are my benefit of having these features? And that is going to be the thing that's going to be important for you to start to say, okay, well, I know who I am and what I want to do. Now, do everything, right? There's nothing, if there is nothing restricting you from taking the government exam here in the United States, I believe it's still called the civil service exam or something like that, do both, right? There's nothing saying that you can't take the exam and go get a regular job, right? Study boy, how you doing? What jobs can teach me how to sell? So, to be blunt, sales jobs. So, what type of jobs that teach you how to sell? Cold call, right? Cold call will teach you how to sell. So, if you have any call centers that are like, hey, I need you to call people, I need you to talk to them about things. Here's the thing, and this is why cold calls are going to be the best. The first thing that you have to be able to do, and this has a lot to do with our psychology of money. The first thing you're going to have to be able to do if you want to walk out here in the market and you want to really be strong in any field, I don't care what field you're going to, if you want to really be strong and be able to separate yourself from others, you need to learn to be able to handle no. Cold calls are brutal. I've worked in this space previously. You are calling someone or some entity and you are going to get no's. You're going to get harsh, like undescribable no's. And you need to build up the callus to be able to understand, no matter how beneficial this thing may be that you're trying to share with this person, no needs to be the answer, right? Or no is the answer that they're going to give you, and you need to be able to live through it. You need to be able to survive a no and move to the next thing. What does this mean for you? It means that you're growing. It means that you have the ability to understand how to have conversations and separate the no from being personal to being a part of the process. It's a great way to develop growth. So another way you can do it is by working in department stores. Another way where a lot of people don't understand where you can start to work on sales is working in food service. Now, what does this mean by working in food service? In the United States, because I've lived here all of my life, there are certain things that you do. For example, tipping. I found out that tipping is a predominantly American thing. It's not something that happens in some other countries. So when it comes to tipping, in order for you to earn a tip, you need to sell yourself. You need to present. You need to put forth effort in a certain way to ensure that the people who are at the table, who you are providing food for, have the ability or want to give you extra money for the work that you did. So you're selling yourself during that process. You're not a trick pony. And I'm not telling you to come out there and clap and dance and sing and do things like that in order to get money. I'm talking about actually selling. I'm talking about understanding that sales is very simple. It is features, benefits. Benefits create value. The feature may be I'm very attentive and attuned to people's body language, right? And so if that's the feature that you have, what's the benefit? The benefit is if I'm working with people and I see them looking around, even if they're not looking for me, I can pick that body language up and I understand they need assistance and I address it, right? I get to that, I address that issue. I'm aware that these people need assistance. Now, the thing that's going to do for sales is going to allow for you to be attuned to understanding the difference between trying to convince someone, right, and assist someone. You don't have to sell if you look to solve. But you have to go through the process of learning to sell in order to learn to solve. And this is something that I say to people all the time. Our psychology with money is in large part driven by this, and why so many people have such a negative view of salespeople is because so many people look at salespeople and they're like, well, they have low character, or they're swarmy, or they're trying to get over with something, or they're a con man. But the bottom line is, really, if what you're doing is offering a solution, then that's how you get to that point. How do you get there? And this isn't like I don't want to turn into a whole seminar on sales, but you get there by asking questions and you have a legitimate concern about the individual's need, and then you seek to solve, right? So that's where money's made, solving people's problems. So if you look at other people's problems, you seek to solve those problems, you have a great way of being able to open up opportunities for yourself. So I hope that answered your question, study boy, right? So now, as we continue to talk about the psychology of money, I do have a little bit more time. I do just want to cover real quick. compounding, as Housel has put in the book, compounding is the eighth wonder. Now, why is compounding important? Compounding is simply saying the ability to build on top of something, right? The ability to take something and then watch it grow. This is why I am of the mindset. Now, there's a theory that Warren Buffett amassed like 90% of his fortune after the age of 60. That's cool, but Warren Buffett's got like $164 billion. So 10% of that is still like $16 billion. All right, so what is this saying, right? So if we're saying that in order for us to be able to understand how things grow, we want to understand compounding, right? What's the benefit of compounding? How does compounding help us? How does compounding move us forward, right? Well, the way compounding helps us is, as I said before, early on, saving, right? Saving is where we start. When we start saving, we put $50 in and then we get a percentage, we get some pennies on it. And then we put another $50 on top of that $50 and the other penny. Now we have $100 and then we have pennies, right? We get more pennies. Now we keep putting those $50 in, 50, 50, 50, 50. And every time we get this compounding interest, it's looking at the balance and it's saying, this is the balance. Here's how much we're going to increase by our percentage. Here's how much we're going to increase by our percentage. Now that compounding is going to grow. Even if you're not getting a percentage of return, simply by setting up a strategy that says, hey, I'm going to keep moving a certain amount of money over here every time, it's going to continue to grow. Right now in the United States, people get what's called an annual raise every year. People go in, they have a conversation. Here's how much we're going to increase your compensation by in exchange for your time. As people go through that process, you start to move that money over. You say, hey, what am I going to do with this money? Well, I'm going to use this money. And now if I've set up and said, I'm going to move 10% of my income over directly into savings, as I make more money, that 10% comes bigger. That's compounding. Right? So if I go from, if my income goes from 10% of $5,000, then it moves up to 10% of $6,000, I'm moving more money over, right? That's what compounding looks like. You keep that the same, you understand, but definitely living within your means is going to be a big thing. So what are we saying here? The psychology of money. So we covered 4 points. I want to go back over them real quick. We need to understand that wealth is behavioral, not logic. It's not about how smart you are. It's about how you behave, how well behaved you are. You have to understand the luck versus risk, right? Or circumstances versus actions, right? That saving is greater than investing if you're first starting out. So don't go throwing your money into investments if you don't know where the investments are going. Take your time, understand what you're doing, save money, because the purpose of saving money is to spend money. I'm not really big on saving once you get to a point where you can start investing. Once you can start investing, and then when you're saving to take a trip, or you're saving to buy something, or you're saving to make a purchase. You want to invest. Once you start investing, you want to move a lion's share of what your focus into investing versus saving. And then compounding is how everything works, which means once you get to that point and you understand how it works, that you need to know that compounding is where you're going to make a great deal of growth, a great deal of development. How does that work? If you're investing in your business, and this is something that a lot of people need to take note of, I think a lot of us need to understand, is if what we're doing is investing, right? And we're investing into our future, living as a business. And I think this is something new that people need to start to look at. Structure your life as a business. Like personally live as a business. It is a process that my wife and I are currently going through. And I'm not suggesting this to you as someone who is just, hey, here's a thought. This is the process that my wife and I are currently going through of transitioning from personal liability to business entities. When you start to live your life as a business, you start to understand that you will pass. Your time will come to an end, but your business your business can continue to go. If you live your life as a business and you say, through this business, I will experience things, right? So I'll give you an example. If you turn your existence into a business, as a leader of the business, you need to make contacts. You need to travel. You need to make connections. You need to meet people. You need to have conversations because the business can't do it on its own, right? So now, when the business says, go to Miami to meet XYZ and talk about investing in ABC and then come back. Well, you are the owner, the individual who has to go make that trip and do it, right? And your business says you need to be there a day before the meeting, the day of the meeting, you need to be there the day after the meeting. And so we're going to cover your expenses because we need you to make sure you're on time on the meeting, that you're familiar with the spaces you're going to meet, that you get an opportunity to see the investment, that you get to speak with the other investors. Like there's work that you need to do while you're there, right? So you need to be there for 3 days, right? So you go and you're there for those 3 days. The company may even say, hey, because your meeting is scheduled for a Friday, you guys. All right, I'm sorry about that. Because your business, because you're scheduled for a Friday, right? Because the meeting you have is scheduled for a Friday, the cost to fly out on Saturday or Sunday is significantly higher than the cost to fly out on Monday. So we're going to leave you there for the weekend, right? We're going to give you a budget. We're going to leave you there for a weekend. You also need to take your assistant with you, and you need to have a car while you're there. So the business is going to cover all these costs because of the work that you do for them and the funds or what it can bring back to it. So these are just this is a wise business decision to make. Also, if you're there on Saturday and Sunday, you get to scout other properties or you get to do other work. What I'm saying to you is the business needs you to do that anyway. If you're there and your wife is your assistant or your husband is your assistant or your child is your chauffeur or your security, if these people are a part of your business and they have to be paid, pay them. And then when you pay them, that money goes to the business. And as the business writes off these expenses, that money pays into your future. And so what I'm saying is when you create your life as a business, right? And you start to work your life through your business, it gives you the ability to move, from borrowing to leveraging. And this is the future. I keep expressing the true power of an LLC is to be able to, in its infancy, in its early stages, develop a business entity that you can put value into, that you can pass on to more and more people in your future, more and more of your family as you move forward. Now, I appreciate everyone for joining. Thank you so much for stopping in, guys. It's always a great time to be able to have a conversation and talk with you. I want to take this moment right now, though. I want to take this moment and I want to encourage you guys. And this is what I do at B&V Finance Fixers, is we really talk about, and it's something that I said, like I said before, this isn't me just throwing something at you. I am on this journey currently. My wife and I are on this journey currently with our family. Focus on developing yourself and growing yourself. Do not give up on yourself. Do not accept what other people have said you are only capable of. Do not accept stereotypes. No longer allow for people to create a reality and say that you must fit within it. No longer allow for people to be able to say that the circumstances in which you were born and the identity that they have for you or choose to impose on you is the identity that you have to accept. We must break free. We must do it. When I say that if there is a space and it is too small for you to live in, you must break down the walls and expand it. Oftentimes in the past, people would say, think outside of the box. Don't think outside of the box. Break the walls of the box down. If you cannot grasp a concept, if someone presents something to you or you seek something out and you're unable to grasp the concept, versus dismissing it. So many times We have conversations where we choose to find out who's right or wrong versus choose to learn, versus choose to seek more. If there is a concept that you don't understand, you need to expand your mind. This is what growth is about. This is what life is about. Life is about growing constantly. And when you grow, you change. And change is challenging. You want to be better than 97%, 98% of the people on the planet? Stop walking away from change. Stop walking away from challenges. Stop thinking that you are who someone else says you are. You have to look for your genesis and stop looking for a genie. Stop looking for a wish. Stop looking for that lucky break. Create it. Find out how to prepare yourself to be ready for the success when the opportunity presents itself. We have too much time that we spend on this planet seeking to do the right thing, seeking to find the right place to be. It is important for us to see and for us to understand and for us to know that we have opportunities in front of us at all times. In order for us to truly succeed and make the most of these opportunities, we have to do the work on ourselves. Where are we at in that, guys? Where are we all at in that? Where are you at in doing the work? Where are you at in understanding who you want to be, what you want to do? What types of steps have you truly taken? Who have you become? I am going to encourage you guys, no longer allow for other people to define you. No longer sit back and wait. Take the strides and take the steps on your own. But this is what you have to do, people. And I'm going to say this, and then this isn't going to be for the weak. Let me get a little closer. Let me let you know it's on you. That's the only person it's on. It's on you. Stop making excuses. Stop blaming society. Stop blaming circumstances. Fight. You need to fight because you have to fight. Stop worrying about what happened the last time. Get up and fight. You get knocked down, you get back up again. You have got to fight. You have to find within you your fight. You have to prepare for the fight that you know is coming. You can't wait for someone to push you up. Stop waiting for someone to give you a chance and take it. You have to do it. Here's the thing. People talk about why can't we all get along? Why can't we all share? Why can't everybody have some? Because somebody has to be in charge. If you're not in charge of your life, someone else is. That's the first thing that you have to understand. Why can't we all just live the way we want to? You can't live the way you want to because you're living the way someone else is telling you to live. You have to make a determination that you want to live a certain way, and then you have to take the action to step out there and do it. Someone has to be in charge. This is why we can't all just be here and it's not all kumbaya. These societies, they fall apart. And the reason they fall apart is because everybody is like, oh, everything is beautiful, everything is wonderful. But even amongst the people who are sitting around saying that we all agree to share, there's someone who is going to dare to say, well, I should have a bigger share. What does equally sharing look like? Someone needs to be in charge. Someone needs to lead. If you can't lead yourself, then you're going to end up following for your whole life. You have to stand up. You have to fight for yourself. You have to find something to believe in. You have to find a direction to travel. You have to find what is important to you for you to do what you want to do and start doing it, guys. We have to stop being pacifists to ourselves. We have to stop giving ourselves excuses and passes. Oh, it's okay, like you tried. There is this episode of The Cosby Show, which was an old comedy show in the United States. And I believe in like the first episode, the son starts this whole thing about, oh, well, you don't understand how maybe this is who I am. And like, this is the best that I could do. So versus loving me for how well I do in a class, why not just love me for me? And the father looks at me and says, man, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make an effort and you're gonna work and you're gonna try. You're gonna do more than try. You're gonna do. You're not gonna sit around here and make these excuses for why you can't get something done. You can't get it done because you're not making the effort. If you're trying to do something, if you're trying to get somewhere and you're trying to go, if you want to understand what your relationship with money is and why you're not able to hold money or sustain money or to grow wealth, it's because you haven't decided to do what's necessary in order to be able to do it. It's because you are falling behind. It's because you aren't doing those things that need to be done. Stop making excuses and blaming others. Stop blaming society. Stop blaming the way things is. It's a you. It's because there are things that you need to do. The same way it's because there are things I need to do. It's not because of my ethnicity. It's not because of the opportunities. It's not because of where I was born and the circumstances that I grew up in. At some point, I have to take ownership of my actions and I have to actually take actions. Stop making choices and start making decisions. A choice is nothing. And a choice is always external. It's always what someone else thinks is the right thing for you. A decision requires action. If I choose to clap my hands, you know what? I want to clap my hands. That's my choice. I have a choice. I've decided I want to clap my hands. It means nothing. That's a choice. I'm choosing to clap my hands. But a decision to clap my hands requires action. When I decide to do it, it requires action. If you are saying that you have made a decision, then that means you are taking action. If you decided you want to do better, then do better. If you decided you wanted to break out and challenge, then do so. Stop sitting back and assuming or accepting that something is the way it is because someone else told you it needs to be this way. What does this mean to us, guys? What are we looking for? What are we looking to challenge? What are we looking to do? We're looking to challenge the status quo. We're looking to grow. We're looking to become bigger and become better. There are so many ways that we can always try to be bigger, always try to be better. But we have to stop trying and we have to start doing. We have to start actually making a decision and taking the actions. Guys, I appreciate you stopping in here. As always, I'm Oloropo, and this is BNV Finance Fixers. We always talk about it here. We talk about discipline. We talk about understanding how to be self-aware and how to be self-accountable. You need to understand where you are. You need to be aware of who you are, how you think, and how you behave. And then you have to hold yourself accountable. If you're not doing what you need to do for you, then you need to do different. You need to do better. And if you want to do better, you're in the right place. As I say, stop looking for a genie, start looking for your genesis, because from your genesis is where you grow. Now, it's been great having you guys here. As always, please check out the profile on the page, and also in the description here, you can see if you appreciate what we're doing and what we're sharing here on the channel. You can find ways to support us directly so that we can continue to spread this message and continue to grow. You can also see it on the description on the channel. And on the description on the channel, you can also see where you can get your free copy of the 2DS just by filling out the form. We make sure we send those out on a regular basis so that you can have access to the same steps, the same activities, same designated and defined way of growing that we use here in our personal lives. Right, guys? So again, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for being here. And until next time, guys, take care. God bless.